Hello, my name is Tokelauan.
Maloni, kutokuingo ko tawi ka fuai.
Maloni, katokuingo ko zana miatu.
Hello, my name is Sabbath Fuai.
Maloni, kutokuingo ko tawa fuai.
I found my experience in Tokelauan to be very heartwarming. It helped me discover where my ancestors and cultural traditions come from, and it shaped the relationship between the third generation of Tokelauans born here in New Zealand to the homeland of my grandparents. Being able to compare the life that we live here in New Zealand to the life that they live in Tokelau was very humbling. I now understand and genuinely appreciate the sacrifices that majority of our grandparents have made to move here, but then ultimately appreciate and am proud of the Tokelauan way of life.
I really love our trip to Tokelau. It opened my eyes a lot to everything. But honestly, not even just that, just to the lives we are living here compared to our family.
Some things that make me proud to be Tokelauan is I just love how unique Tokelauan culture is, and it's just such a good and beautiful culture that not many people know of.
Visiting Tokelau was definitely a great experience for me. I found that being in Tokelau really gave me a proper insight into the lives of which my grandparents once lived. Although today might be a little bit different, it was definitely a great experience to be there just with my family and my grandparents and to see where it all started.
I really loved our trip to Tokelau. One, because it's really remote, it's way off the grid, and it allows us the opportunity to take a step back from our busy everyday lives and slow down and really live in the moment. Two, it allowed me to reevaluate the life that I live here in New Zealand, as I was able to compare the life that our families live back home. It really gave me a new sense of appreciation and taught me to be grateful for the things that I have and to make the most of the simple things in life.
The generous and kind nature of our people is something that I'm very proud of. I look up to the elders because they've always been able to make something out of nothing, all with a smile on their face.
I think there are many things that make me proud to be Tokelauan, but if I had to choose one, I would definitely say hateles, because although I'm not a great dancer, I think hateles are something I'm proud to talk about when people ask about my culture, because hateles are much more than just a performative dance. It's also a way of bringing people together to enjoy the culture and learn about the message that are through the songs and dances. Hateles are an amazing way of spreading messages, telling stories, and just simply learning something about the culture. And I think that's something I'm definitely proud about.
One thing that makes me proud to be a Tokelauan is our people. I really love how loving and caring and giving we are. Like, the list is never ending. For example, when we went on our family trip to Tokelau, we had more than 10 girls staying in one house and then about 10 boys staying in the other house, and not once did our hosts complain about the water restrictions with the water tank, the power we were using.
There were so many things about Tokelau that make me proud to be Tokelauan, but if I had to just pick one, it would most definitely be our people. I just love how caring and welcoming they are, how generous they are, and just how they have so much love to give. And I got to experience that firsthand on our trip to Tokelau, because there were about 25 of us that went, and we were told that petrol was limited. But even then, our families went out of their way to gather boats and use them to take us out to see Tokelauan and to see where our grandparents grew up. Yeah, it really makes me proud because living here in New Zealand, it's not often that you find people that are more than willing to basically give up the clothes on their back for literally nothing or just out of love. So yeah, I'm really proud to know that I come from people that have so much love to give.
On our last night in Tokelauan, we decided that it was going to be like every man for themselves for dinner. So we just went about our time, and then when we returned to cook our noodles for dinner, we were shocked to see that the table was full of food, and we had no clue we had cooked the food. And so I guess it just speaks volumes of the generosity and the humility of our people, that they're not one to make a fuss about or to brag about or to boast about the things that they do for others, but that they're more than willing to just give without expecting things in return.
I'm sure most Tokelauan youth can relate when telling someone where you're from. If you're from Tokelau, I usually get, what's that, where is that even a country? And at first I used to be very offended, but now I see it as an opportunity to explain the beauty that is Tokelau. There's just an excitement that I get when I see people are intrigued and want to know more.
I think it depends on who the person is. If it's someone that knows nothing about Tokelauan, doesn't know what it is, there probably be like questions like, what is that? Is it in the Pacific? Things like that. But I kind of think that's actually cool, because when I tell one person about it, it spreads off to the world.
When I ask people about Tokelau, they usually say things like, is that an island within Samoa, or is that kind of like Tuvalu? Or from where I stay, when I tell people that I'm from Tok, they usually say, oh, like Tokoroa. And I guess from these interactions, it just really shows me how little is known about Tokelau, but how much more I want to share with others.
Something that I think is really unique to Tokelauan and is something that I haven't seen or heard happening anywhere else, and that is the customary practice of inati, which is a tradition that's been passed down from generations that is still being practiced today on all three atolls in Tokelauan. It's where all the men on the island go out and fish, and they come back and distribute it evenly to all the families in the village. So I think that this really sets us apart, because it just goes to show how much we care for our people and how much we want to make sure that everyone has what they need, and that no families go without, especially for families that might not have a male in their family. This is where the other men of the village can stand in the gap and provide for those families, which is something that I love.
There are barriers here learning the language just because it's not taught in schools. We did have our own Tokelauan language classes, but unfortunately stopped. A barrier here is that we only celebrate Tokelauan once a year for our language week, and it would be nice to celebrate it more.
Many barriers, especially language. The language barrier is up there for me. I wish I could connect with my Nana and Papa, and even, you know, my aunties and uncles, my mom. I wish I could connect with them on that level where, you know, we can speak our language fluently and happily, but unfortunately I have that language barrier in my way. I would love to, you know, try to overcome that barrier. I do love that we have the opportunity to learn these things, whether it's from our elders or it's from mahutanga or it's from church. Like, I really love that we have these opportunities to learn. Even though we do have these barriers, there's always a solution.
There are definitely no excuses for me to have not learned the culture or the language, but I feel that being within an environment that imposes English predominantly has created some barriers for me. Because I feel that growing up in New Zealand, a lot of Western culture is influenced and minority cultures are diminished. But that doesn't go to say that I shouldn't stop learning the culture. And in fact, it's encouraged me to learn more of the culture.
I mean, it's not a custom or tradition, however, but it is like a trait of our Tokelauan people, and it's just to, always be humble in everything you do. Be so humble, be so gracious in everything you do. That's one of the main things I love about our people, is just how humble we are. We're more than willing to give when we need to give, serve when we need to serve, just to continue to be like that. I hope my children are nothing less than, everything our Tokelauan people stand for.
My biggest aspiration for New Zealand-born Tokelauans is to learn the language and keep it alive. I feel that being the minority here in New Zealand compared to the big Pacific Islands, learning the language is very crucial. Another aspiration is something that I see slowly transpiring anyway, and that is to have Tokelau be represented on a world stage, world platform, whether it be through sport or education. There is currently representation for Tokelau on an international level, but the goal is to have it grow because our people have so much talent.
Personally, I would love to see some educational opportunities for our Tokelauan community here in New Zealand. For example, growing up we had Tokelauan language classes down at Mataliki after school at least 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I think. And eventually, growing up as you do, you grow out of things, and I guess that's what most of us ended up doing, growing out of it. But now that the opportunity isn't there anymore, you really do regret not making the most of it.
I guess just a small aspiration I have for the Tokelauans here in New Zealand is, I guess my hope is that one day in the near future we might have our own Polyfest stage. I know I'm not in high school anymore, but I would love to see that our Tokelauan people representing in that way. And I know that people would love to see hateles being performed.
That we could aspire to learn more of the language and culture. For many who may not be connected to the culture, I would strongly encourage that we aspire to change that. Whether it be through asking your grandparents small words, or your relatives or your parents, or even trying to organize workshops to learn more about the culture or the language, just anything to educate ourselves more on being secure within our identity. Because I feel that being more secure in your identity and your culture really empowers us to thrive more within these mainstream societies.